Good morning, everyone. My name is Alexandra. I'm from St. Petersburg, from Russia. And first of all, I would like to thank all the organizers of this very special event and to say that I'm very inspired and amazed by the quality and complexity of projects from all over the world. So thank you, everyone. So I will talk about collective design and construction of playful public spaces and try to identify benefits for children and professionals. So first, okay. Thank you. Okay. So first I'd like to say a couple words, just that I'm an architect and I got my first degree from Russia, and then I got my master's degree from the United States. And about 5 years ago, I came back to St. Petersburg, and together with my team, I started these two educational projects. One of them is Young Architects Society, which is architecture school for kids from 4 to 16 years old. It's an extracurriculum activity, so it's not part of any public school. And actually, it's been growing quite fast. Right now, we have about 150 students. And another one is Architectura Festival. It's an architectural festival where kids and adults together design and build playful spaces in one-to-one scale. And I will talk in detail about the festival in a few minutes. So our educational and research interests are built around asking and investigating some of these questions. How to create interactive and lively public spaces? What does play mean for public space design? How to create a constructive dialogue between users and planners or architects? Can children affect their environment? And if they can, and if we incorporate them in a public space design, are there any educational benefits for children and for professionals? So in this presentation, I will focus on our educational processes that were created to explore these questions. So at first, I would like to start with the definition of a playful space. So to me, play is not about simplicity or just children games, but it's about lively interaction and communication between people and surroundings. So play is very significant in everyday life, both for children and for adults. And our team aims to explore participatory processes and to merge education, craftsmanship, and to transform traditional public spaces into playful, meaning lively, interactive, engaging urban landscapes, both for children and adults. And our investigation goes beyond just playground design, but concerns participatory approaches to public space design in general. So if we believe in the power of playful spaces, it seems essential to engage and design those who are professional at playing, children, right? So we've been exploring different ways to engage children in public space design. And mainly we're doing it through education. And today I will focus on our first educational initiative, is this architectural festival, Architectura. So it's held in the natural setting, pretty much on few hectares land in the forest in Russia. And it's experimental, and the idea of the experiment is to unite children, parents, and design professionals in the process of design and construction in order to create new interactions and to explore new sustainable, playful scenarios. I will try to describe the festival briefly and then talk more about the methods and the process of construction itself, and then talk about the principles. So the festival was held already for 3 years on the bank of the lake outside of St. Petersburg, and it was visited by more than 500 children and adults. Overall, we created about 11 playful objects, including tree houses, labyrinths, theater stages, a dome, a lighthouse, and several other objects. And so right now, all the structures over time evolved in a large playground, both for kids and adults. So this is, for example, one of my favorite objects. It's a lighthouse we built. It's actually pretty massive. It's about 7 meters. So to construct this kind of object, it takes about 50 participants, both children and adults, and it's designed and built in 3 to 6 days of the festival. Primary users of the festival are families with children from 5 to 16 years old, even though the majority of children is before 14 years. So kids spend most of their time in design and construction activities, while adults have a choice. They can either participate in design with children or just spend their free time in nature or rest. And nevertheless, the festival attracts mostly families. It's a family-oriented festival, but there have been a lot of interest from design professionals, architects, artists, and everyone who is interested in new kinds of collaboration and working with children. So the primary building material of the festival is wood, even though some elements are built from different ecological and locally gathered materials. For example, you see this tree house here, and there is a process of how children and all participants actually gathered the material for the roof and the lake that's just near the construction site. So an overall principle of sustainability is actually very important for the festival. Besides, we believe in a synergy of architecture and other creative disciplines. We notice that it leads to higher level of engagement and collaboration between all participants. For example, here you can see a theater stage that everyone designed and constructed together in several days, and parallel with the construction process, children created and performed a play on the stage for one of the evening activities. So it allows everyone not only to construct a space, but also to inhabit it and create deeper emotional connection with this playful space and object. Besides, we have a lot of supporting activities for adults and children. They're also playful usually, so it's plein air drawings or animation courses, lectures, movies, sports, yoga, spontaneous music composing, performances, exhibitions, actually anything that participants or children come up with. So another thing about the festival, which is interesting for us, especially as for architects, is that we found that it can be a practical concept for land revitalization. For example, we hosted the festival in the same location for 3 years, and so the previously uninhabited space, actually very functional space, became this lively interactive playground that was designed and built by hundreds of different people. So many people have new connections with it, and everyone wants to come back there. And even though the festival was held mainly in the natural setting, we do think and we have ideas how it can be adapted to accelerate urban public spaces as well, such as sidewalks, parks, squares, any other spaces. Now I will talk in detail about the process and the methods of the design and construction process itself. So basically we are trying to create this educational process where we're exploring active learning techniques and focus on hands-on learning. So all children, professionals, and their parents are united in the process of design and construction, and so they go through all process of design and construction together and individually at some times. So they start with analysis of the project needs, they look for the building site, they analyze the territory, they develop criteria for the future object, they create prototype models and drawings, they create structural schemes and analyze the materials. Then in the end, they create a final project altogether. Then they construct it all as a group. And in the end, they're able to play and adapt their spaces to different purposes. So this is the example, this is the example of how we design and build the bridge. You can see the drawings and models. Okay, 10 minutes. You can see drawings and models and the discussion process and development of structural schemes, and then the construction process itself. And in the end, we get this bridge across the very small river that everyone can use as they like. This is another example of how we built a labyrinth. And now about the construction process itself, because this seems to be one of the challenging parts for us especially. So the construction process has a very rigid structure that allows it to be productive, but at the same time safe and entertaining. All participants are divided in several teams of 3 to 8 people, where each team performs its own task. For example, assembling, sewing, sanding, gathering the material, etc. Meanwhile, all participants can switch teams or leave the construction site at any time. So this allows us to create this friendly, creative atmosphere within small groups and to sustain the interest through the whole process with the help of constant change of activities. And also the important part is that we're able to finish the project in time. Actually, we finished almost all projects in time, even when it was raining for 5 days and we had only 5 days for construction. And I think it's one of the very hard parts for most architects to finish the project and then to finish the construction in time. And then in the end, when the project is ready, participants can explore it or decorate it, use lighting, or create any playful scenarios. Actually, we do spend a lot of time and pay a lot of attention to discussing scenarios during the construction process. And so we develop all kinds of activities for day and night, and I think that night and evening is especially interesting time for children, because that's something, like the last evening is something that motivates them a lot to finish the project in time and to have this fun disco or, I don't know, like paint faces with neon lighting, for example. Now, the very important part is about principles and benefits. So the participatory processes of this festival are based on an educational foundation that is constantly under the reconstruction and research. So I think that we're in the very beginning stages, and right now we rely mostly on the opinions of professionals in the fields of architecture and psychology, as well as feedback from children and their parents. And so we aspire to identify some of the important principles that will lead to more significant benefits, because sometimes it's not clear. Sometimes we think it's a benefit, but maybe it's not really. So one principle is a hands-on experience, which means that all participants explore everything with their own hands, so they go through all processes with their own hands. Which encourages concentration, fine motor skills, helps to develop spatial understanding, and regular hands-on activities are usually connected to developing patience and even emotional well-being for some. Another one is facilitation rather than prescription. So we rarely tell kids what to do exactly or how to do it. We just show them opportunities and ways of how it can be done. So it motivates them to create. It brings up unexpected design solutions and creates this evaluation-free learning scenario when there is no one person that tells you exactly how to do something. Another one is collaboration. It's a collaboration between different user groups of different ages and professions. And actually, the collaboration interaction between all participants happens in a very hierarchy-free and friendly atmosphere. So it does lead to stronger bonds and stronger community ties. It allows the exchange of ideas between different user groups that wouldn't happen otherwise. It's hard to imagine another setting where all these people would come together. And I think it's also very refreshing for the professionals to expand their professional practice through the exchange of ideas. Another one is judgment-free creative space, which boosts creative thinking for all participants, actually, and leads to higher self-esteem, because it allows free self-expression, and everyone has the right to be strange and not be judged for it and not be evaluated. Another one is engagement, which means the connection of knowledge to real-life experience, and it drives everyone to explore and investigate, not only in the classroom, but in the real world. So basically, it's engagement in the real world situations. Another important principle is sustainability, which is a practice of conscious decision-making from early age for children, and sometimes it's also useful for adults, especially in a developing country situation. So it means picking natural materials for building and craft, recycling, reducing waste, healthy eating and sports, just spending more time in nature and understanding nature better. Another one is edutainment, which is education and entertainment, which is learning and play, which is responsibility and freedom, or freedom, balance between freedom and responsibility. It increases interest to learn and also motivates kids to learn and participate in all activities. And another very important for us is security. It's actually the last one, but it's probably the most important, because we do invite children to the construction site, which is a very, which is a dangerous place to be, actually. So it's about balance between responsibility and freedom. And so we do, of course, talk about all the dangers and risks they may have there, but we also allow children to determine their own rules after they know which instruments they're dealing with. And actually, we do have a lot of electrical instruments on the construction site, even though we try to minimize the amount because they're really dangerous. But so we want kids to learn the awareness of a risk, in the real world, and to be able to rely on themselves, because there are actually a lot of risks anyways. So our experimental investigation shows that collective design and construction practices that incorporate children may lead to some very unexpected outcomes, and we actually didn't expect that when we started the project. So children were actively engaged in learning, professionals find new perspectives on design, construction process is very efficient, we're able to finish everything, and the playful spaces promote better emotional response and social interaction for everyone. Okay, thank you.